Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Frequency Intel. It is the end of the eclipse season, and hallelujah. This has been a really potent and, in a lot of ways, excruciating eclipse season. So much coming up in the collective, so much that we all need to give ourselves a lot of gentleness around. So much coming up for transmutation. And I want to dive right into the conversation today because I wanted to really explain what I mean by the term frequency and what I also mean by connecting into a frequency. So frequency is a bandwidth of information, of non-physical information. So energy is the substance of creation. Everything is made out of energy. And those energies may reside at particular frequencies or bandwidths of information, bandwidths of energy. So when I say the term balanced and I say connect into the frequency of balance, what do I really mean by that? I want to explain that so that it's really clear, how do we do that? So connecting into a particular frequency is how we relate to that frequency, how we initiate with that frequency, how we work with those frequencies, how we utilize frequency or bandwidths of information in order to sculpt and shape our reality, in order to create with the substance of creation, with the consciousness of creation. This is how we transform, transmute, and change the course of our lives or redirect the course of our lives. And that's what we're all in right now. We are in the greatest initiation of the human species into transmuting out of the old ways of lack and limitation, the belief systems that we were programmed to believe in and create from, the dualistic structures and paradigm that we are moving out of and into this new golden age of humanity where we're actually creating out of abundance the streams of consciousness that are limitless creation potentials. So when I say connect into a particular frequency, what I'm really guiding us all to do, what I'm really encouraging us all to do, what I'm really supporting us to do with these frequency intel, in order to create in new ways, we need to be able to connect with particular frequencies, to employ them in our creations, to utilize them. So the way that we connect with frequencies is we literally connect into the vibration of the word that we are wanting to connect with. So we'll use balance as our tool today, because balance is the frequency that is here as the support structure to help us in this powerful initiation that we're all in. So when I say to connect with the frequency of balance, one of the most powerful ways to do that is to invoke that word internally. So when I say balance, I am connecting through the consciousness of my creative energy, my divine mind, and I am setting the intention to connect with the frequency of balance. And what that does when we connect into a particular frequency, we are calling that frequency into our experience. We're calling that frequency into our idea of what is occurring in this now moment. So we can all just practice this by setting the intention to connect into the frequency of balance. And oftentimes you'll see me close my eyes when I'm talking about frequency, when I'm talking about these concepts of consciousness, because what I'm doing is I'm turning off the external stimuli of the environment around me, all of my human senses, and I'm connecting into my superconscious senses, my transpersonal senses that take me into the ability to see, hear, feel, and know and intuit beyond the physical realm, because the idea of a frequency is non-physical. Frequency is information in the collective field. Some people call this the Akashic field or the Akashic records. So when we are setting our intention to connect with a particular frequency, and really what we're doing is we're partnering with that frequency, we're inviting that frequency to support us in the transmutation that we are undertaking in any given now moment, because transmutation is simply change, changing one form into another form, and we are learning how to be the masters of change. We're learning how to be comfortable in change, where we have historically been hardwired and programmed to be afraid of change, to want everything to stay the same. Our minds love for everything to be the same way it was the day before, and the same way it was the day before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. Our minds don't like change because they don't know what that change will result in. And the egoic mind wants to know that you are safe. So we have been programmed and wired to avoid change and prefer sameness, to prefer everything to stay as it has always been. And so this is what we are transmuting out of. We are transmuting out of wanting comfort, which is part of sameness. We're comfortable in what is known. We're uncomfortable in the unknown. And so we're learning to titrate our mind to accept change and to move away from sameness, so that we can move through this time of transmutation, this time of the great awakening of humanity, with more ease, with more grace, with more gentleness. And that's not to say that we won't be uncomfortable. Sometimes change is uncomfortable, and we need to become familiar with being uncomfortable. The way to do that is to practice, is to intentionally call in change. And we're in such a time of tumult. We're in such a time of complexity right now. When I tuned into the frequencies of the collective consciousness this morning, when I was meditating and downloading the information that wanted to be shared in the collective today, the term that I heard was complex. So we are not in one singular frequency right now. We are in a complexity of frequency. And what we're doing in this complexity of frequency is sorting through all of the ways that are no longer serving us, all of the struggles and the patterns in our life that are no longer that are no longer supporting us. And you can even tell my words are not really flowing today, and the information is really hard to grasp. And so when we can connect into a frequency by simply setting an intention to connect into that frequency. Sometimes I will vision or visualize internally the frequency that I'm connecting to. If I'm connecting to the frequency of money, if I'm connecting to the frequency of abundance, if I'm connecting into the frequency of balance, I may intentionally visualize something that is an icon or a signature of that frequency, of that word for me. And so the way that looks, the way that we can use visualization, our imagination, one of the most powerful tools that we have is to visualize the frequency, give ourselves a visualization of the frequency that we're wanting to connect into. This is number 2 way of connecting into a particular frequency. And so how I connect into the frequency of balance with my imagination is I turn on my internal visioning system, and I see a fulcrum or a balance point, and I see a line above a triangle. So a line sitting on top of a triangle, and I see the two ends of that line, and I see where is there an imbalance, and how can I bring balance to whatever it is that I'm working with. So that is the second way that I want to invite you to practice connecting into particular frequencies. And whatever frequency you want to connect into, you will imagine, you will see a vision. If you turn on your imagination and you set your intention to have a visual for the frequency that you want to connect into. Sometimes if I'm connecting into the frequency of money, it's a super easy one to use to explain. I will see piles of gold. That is the frequency that I connect into to call in abundance in my life if I'm working with the frequency of money. So I'll use that visualization to connect with that frequency. And once we've used these two different ways of connecting with a particular frequency, we're either invoking it through an intention to connect with it internally, or we're using our internal visioning system to connect with a particular frequency. And you can use both of those ways of connecting simultaneously, which even amplifies the field of the frequency that we're connecting into more powerfully. So once I've connected into that frequency, I actually begin to give myself permission to feel that frequency, to become that frequency, to allow it to permeate and penetrate me at the level of the cellular structure, at the atomic level, at the subatomic level, so that I am becoming that frequency, and therefore I am able to use it in my creation, whatever it is I'm creating. So if I want to use balance, which is the frequency that we are being invited into, this is the strategy to use for this very complex, very chaotic, very just really intense and powerful time that we're in. And this chaos and complexity isn't good or bad. It is simply complexity. So you can have amazing, wonderful things happening, and you can have really tragic things happening. And both of those things can be complex. So when I connect into this frequency and I become this frequency, I become balance. What that does is it literally signals to my neural pathways in my brain to the cellular structure of my nervous system and to my organs, my systems of my body, including my adrenal system and my glandular system, my chakras. I'm connecting energetically at the deepest core level of myself. I become balance. So what that offers to us is we can balance in the chaos. We can balance in the complexity. And then that gives us the ability to be in our superconscious self and not in our programmed egoic or personality self, in our human mind, in our subconscious mind, in our unconscious mind, where all of the programming is. We can raise above that level of awareness and into the superconscious structure of reality, of totality, of the nature of who we truly are, and we can see more. We can call in more of whatever it is we are creating, more solutions to the patterns that we're experiencing. And I love this idea that whatever we have created in our reality, whatever we are facing or experiencing in any given now moment, is simply an opportunity for us to see where we are not free. So if we see in ourselves judgment, or we see judgment coming at us, if we see disrespect, or we feel like we have been disrespectful, if we see struggle in our reality, our external world, or we are struggling, we are simply be given the opportunity to see where we are not free and what we need to transmute and transcend to transform our lives. So the mantra that we can use this week is, where am I not free? And we can use that in every now moment when we move into the level of consciousness that lets us become the observer of our experience, where we're not just in the experience, having the experience that we're having, and not being conscious or aware of our part in creating the experience that we're having. When we move into our superconscious self, when we move into the state of balance, internal balance, where our hara line that connects all of our chakras is balanced and running in harmony internally, we can still have things that are disruptive, that are frightening, that are change, that are new, that are a struggle, that's a pattern arising, that someone is projecting onto us, that we are having an experience that we don't want to be having. We can stay in an internal state of balance and harmony. I call this balancing in the chaos of life. We can stay in that state of balance in our superconscious awareness, the observer of the reality that we're living, that we're experiencing in each moment, and then solutions and ideas and awarenesses to what we need in order to change what is not working for us in our lives will come to us spontaneously. We don't need to go looking for the information that we need in order to change what isn't working in our lives. We simply need to be in a state of internal peace, internal balance, become aware of being the observer of the experience that we're having, and then listen for the solution, for the idea, for the exploration. And this works the same way for creating new things in our life. When we are in balance internally, our superconscious self, or the soul, jumps into the driver's seat of our school bus and takes over and starts creating, starts guiding, starts leading the way. And we start to have a state of flow in our lives where our lives become easier. Our lives become simpler. And everything starts to make sense. And notice that I didn't say that things will be easy. I said easier. Because right now, things are complex. And we are in this space of disentanglement. This is the frequency that we're working with right now. And this is going to be a frequency that we are working with for quite some time. So we are disentangling ourselves from the old ways of being that we can't move forward in our lives, in our creations, in the things that we want to experience. When we're entangled in the old ways of being, in the old mindset of self-doubt, of self-incrimination, of self-judgment, of self-abandonment, these old ways that we were taught to devalue ourselves and to create personas that aren't true to who we truly are, that aren't our true identity. So we're disentangling ourselves from old identities that no longer serve us because they're masking who we truly are. And so I want to encourage all of us. I'm certainly going to be using this mantra for when things arise in my reality that potentially could destabilize me or take me into self-doubt or some of the old patterns that I've used as coping strategies in my life. And I'm going to be asking, where am I not free in this? What is this showing me where I'm not free? And that will give me a starting place. That will give all of us a starting place to begin to disassemble these old structures. And I always think of electrical wire towers. Those really, they look like, erector set kind of structures that are, enormous, made out of metal. If you've ever been driving down a major interstate highway, you've seen these giant kind of erector set electrical towers. And that's the visualization that I've seen all year that we're doing. We are literally, if we think of ourselves as one of those electrical towers and the complexity of the structure, the architecture that they're built of, that is the old architecture that we built in order to try to fit in, try to be liked, try to feel worthy, try to feel loved. When the truth is that we are love. The truth is that we are inherently valuable and worthy. And so you can think of the true self as the being inside of that electrical tower, that structure. And what we're doing is we're taking down that tower piece at a time to reveal what is inside of that structure. Who am I at the core of who I truly be? So I love that visualization, and I think this is probably the first time that I've ever shared it because it's just now dropping into my awareness to share with all of you. And I hope that visualization gives you some pleasure. It gives me some kind of crazy pleasure to think, wow, I'm taking down that complex, heavy metal architecture that I built around myself that isn't my true self, and I can take it down now and liberate myself to be who I truly am and to be okay. Just absolutely in love with who I am. And let that be okay. So I think that is a fun visualization for all of us to use. And we, God knows, can certainly use some levity and fun in our lives right now. So I think that's everything that wanted to be shared on this frequency intel. I do want to thank all of you who have joined me live for this frequency intel. I'm so grateful. I can really feel your frequency, and I feel this circle, this collective consciousness that helps to open the field of awareness for me to channel through whatever it is that needs to come through for whomever will receive this frequency intel in whatever time they receive this frequency intel. And as I always say, whenever you are seeing this frequency intel is perfect, because there is no time and there is no space, and there is something here that is supportive, nurturing, loving, expansive for you to hear in this now moment. So I love you all so deeply, and I hope that you have a beautiful, balanced, harmonious week. And I hope that you will begin to practice embracing change, embracing the discomfort of change, and the mind wanting to steer clear of change, the mind wanting to throw up a whole bunch of roadblocks and that sort of thing. And I hope you'll say, no, I'm going to do the thing that scares me and see what happens. And then how that is so incredibly beneficial is that it tells the mind, it titrates the cellular structure of our physical bodies, our nervous systems, our mind, and our lymphatic system, all of the systems of our body, to be familiar with change. So therefore more change is accepted, more change is welcomed by our beautiful ego selves, and we don't have such internal struggle within ourselves. So thank you so much for this time with you. I'm so grateful. Thank you for your messages of thanks and encouragement. I'm so grateful. And please, if you are hearing this, drop a heart, like, comment, share wherever you're hearing this. It helps more people find this information through whatever the algorithms are that these beautiful platforms that we have to connect through use to help people find what they need to know in this now moment. So with that, I will say I love you infinitely, timelessly, ceaselessly, and abundantly. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the Frequency Intel. And until then, so much love to you. All right, bye for now.